Welcome back to the show, folks. This is Tuesday. Hope you're all having a great week. It's Pro Wrestling Weekly. We're coming to you a day early because Liverpool are playing in the Cup tomorrow night and we have to cover that. So this week, Pro Wrestling Weekly comes to you on a Tuesday. We got lots to get through tonight. We've got a great show planned for tonight. Some really good stuff. We're going to take a look back at the Elimination Chamber. We're going to be taking a look at Drew McIntyre, who's knocking it out of the park at the moment. We're going to be talking about bringing you updates on Dark Side of the Ring, rivals, biographies, legends, all that kind of stuff. We got dates, we got episodes, all that kind of stuff. We'll take a look. We're going to be talking about Sting's last week, potentially in AEW. Tomorrow night, of course, will be his last appearance on Dynamite. We're going to be talking about John Cena and Randy Orton having a bit of a cozy up on OnlyFans. Let us know your thoughts on that and where you think it might go. Are they giving us any hints on that? And we're going to be looking at the Meltzer Awards. We're going to be looking at the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Awards. And we'll bring you the usual roundup of history, notable birthdays, and all that good stuff as well. So we'll get stuck into the show now. But before we start, we got news yesterday that another guy from my childhood, an intricate part of the Four Horsemen, has sadly passed away. So, of course, we recognize these passings when they happen. So, of course, we will remember 1942 to 2024, R.I.P. Ole Anderson. Our thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to the greater Anderson family, the greater wrestling community, of course, as well. God, boy, I remember this guy. This guy was the epitome of a tough guy and stuff like that. He didn't suffer fools gladly. He's been spoken about many a times on a number of podcasts and shoot interviews. Certainly, he was a tough cookie. He was tough as a booker. He was tough as a promoter. You've heard Jake Roberts talking about him in the past on some of his shows and stuff like that and all. He was a big part of the Four Horsemen. Remember when he left there, you remember him kicking Sting out of the Horsemen and all this kind of stuff. Was rugged as be damned. Didn't suffer any fools in the ring, was hard as nails. So R.I.P. Ole Anderson. Sad to see him go. There we go. So we did talk about, we did mention Sting. We're in the final week of Sting. Of course, Sunday, AEW Revolution is coming to you. Sting's final match. We're from Huntsville. We're going to get final Dynamite for Sting. Let us know your thoughts on that, how you feel about it, what a career the man has had. Absolutely exceptional. Some would argue it could have been a whole lot more. And it'd be interesting to see when his career is done. Does he sit down and do a documentary and reflect on his career and have a think about maybe some of the things he missed out, maybe some of the things he was happy to miss out on? We know there was a kind of certainly a love-hate relationship with WWE. He never had any interest in working for the Fed in New York, but eventually went there, and that was kind of a bit of a disaster. He was, of course, in TNA, WCW, of course. And, of course, I remember him when I first seen him as the surfer Sting with the blonde hair. Came in as a young wrestler, absolutely lit the place up. Went straight, absolutely got catapulted really quick, and went into a feud with the Horsemen and stuff like that. And from there, he never looked back. His matches with Ric Flair are legendary. He had chemistry literally with everyone he stepped into the ring with. Everyone knows his close relationship both with Ultimate Warrior and with Luger, and all these guys had unbelievable matches in WCW and stuff like that. Evolved over time, became the kind of Crow Sting, NWO, Four Horsemen, all this kind of stuff. Was involved in everything that was pivotal in wrestling, I would imagine, outside of WWE and WWF at the time. So we will see with bated breath what comes out of Wednesday's Dynamite, and then we will follow it through to AEW Revolution, and we will give you a review on that next week. And I'll probably drop a short video giving my thoughts on Dynamite on Thursday, probably, once I've seen it and stuff like that. But no doubt, he ain't called the icon for nothing. I think the one regret, I suppose, for most people would be that we would have loved to see him and Undertaker main event of WrestleMania in their prime. The icon versus the dead man would have been kind of cool. So we missed out on that, unfortunately. And it's something that Sting talks about and Undertaker to this day. Eno's in. Big up, Eno. What's the crack, my friend? How are you? I hope you are well. Just getting a bit of AEW news out of the way here. Just a little, we will reflect back on the Elimination Chamber. I wanted to reflect on this, though. Three new champions knocking it out of the park in less than 24 hours, thanks to Wrestle Talk on this. In less than 24 hours, Nick Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler, has won the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Matt Riddle has won the World Television Championship in New Japan. And Mustafa Ali, I should say, has won the TNA X Division Championship. Everyone knows what a big fan I am of the X Division Championship. And Mustafa Ali, if there was a wrestler out there who represents the X Division and will be unbelievable. It'd be interesting to see the stuff that he puts together now. But good to see these boys out there doing their thing and showing that there is life after WWE. Ziggler there looking a bit rough for wear. I don't know whether it was the travel or the match or whatever. He sort of looks like Mickey Rourke and the wrestler there. So let us know your thoughts and stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. Three boys who have been knocking it out of the park, and certainly strange releases as well, but we knew that these boys would go on to be a success and stuff like that. And who knows, with Mustafa Ali in TNA, no doubt he'll find his way back into WWE. Extremely talented wrestler. And who knows what the future holds for Ziggler and Matt Riddle. So we just said we'd recognize it as we did. Wanted to touch on as well the network. The network is officially a decade now. Since its inception. Let me know what you thought of that since its launch and stuff like that. I remember when it was launching at first, people were a little bit hesitant about it because we know as wrestling fans, we tend to be collectors as well, and we tend to collect DVDs and Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff. We're hoarders at heart, really, but for wrestling merchandise. So let me know a decade on the WWE Network, and how do you feel it's going to go when it shifts over to Netflix? What's going to happen there and stuff like that? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. But certainly a decade on, the network has really been the go-to for people to go to stuff, check it out and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see what way it shifts over to Netflix. What's the time period? Does it go over pretty much? Is it all there? Are they going to sanitize it even further with all this other stuff that's going on, the allegations and everything else and all that kind of thing? Are we going to see a lot more footage now disappearing and stuff like that? We shall see what happens, but we said we'd mark the decade of the network. Take your comments in here now. Iron Claw, why does Ric Flair sound like an Aussie? Like an Aussie on the movie, E for effort. Absolutely, yeah. That's one that has been coming out, actually. I think he looked the part. Now, I don't think he was a million miles away from how he looked. He was just slightly off in how he sounded. Look, tough one. Acer City 1-0 up. Ian's in. Never a fan of the WWE Network. You're missing out, Ian. There's some good stuff on it. Some of the documentaries on it and stuff like that, and the 24s and the 365s and all are really, really good. And I really enjoy those table for threes as well and stuff like that. You can be selective when you go in there and all, but there is some really good stuff in there that's well worth watching. JSW, Stop Motion and Games. How are you? Do you think we get Logan Paul versus AJ Styles versus LA Knight versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton in a ladder match for the US title at WrestleMania? I don't know. They still have, like, if you think about it, we're roughly 5 weeks out from Mania at this stage, roughly. There's still a lot of both those cards to be padded out, isn't there? I mean, when you think about it, what have we got out there? We've got the 4 title matches. We'll probably get. There's bound to be a tag match. There's bound to be a US match. So you would expect Logan Paul to defend the US belt, and probably against Randy Orton. You would expect LA Knight versus AJ Styles. I tell you, do you know what you actually could get? You could get a triple threat all right for the US belt. Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. And then you might get AJ Styles versus LA Knight or something like that. I don't know if they'll throw the whole lot in. But not a bad shout. Not a bad shout at all, kind of like a Money in the Bank feel to it and stuff like that. They do like putting them in there. And if you can put that amount of talent in one match as well, and hats off to AJ Styles as well, making that trip down to Australia for that bit of involvement and stuff like that, and probably having to hide most of the week he was down there as well, not to give away that he was there and stuff like that. And hats off to him and stuff like that. I think he's getting a lot of accolades over that. But we shall see. Aces, Ole Anderson, greatest wrestling brain, 4 horsemen for life. Yeah, one of them anyway, that's for sure. Certainly an unbelievable booker, an unbelievable promoter, but hard as nails and drove a hard bargain. And also not overly easy to work with as well if you listen to some of Jake's shows and stuff like that as well. How's Trick Sean? Absolutely brilliant, my friend. Absolutely brilliant. So we are going to dive in. Let's dive into the chamber and give our thoughts. What did we think of the Elimination Chamber 2024? It's in the bag now. So we're officially now on the absolute road to WrestleMania. And we'll be bringing that every week. But let us know what you thought of Elimination Chamber. I thought it was a very well received premium live event. I thought they did an outstanding job getting the chamber there. We listened to the logistics of trying to get the chamber there. It was absolutely crazy. But we kicked it off, I suppose, with the women's one. Let us know your thoughts on the women's chamber match. How did you feel about it and stuff like that? I personally thought it kind of started off a little bit clunky. I think with Naomi and with Becky in the ring and stuff like that, there was kind of it was kind of very choreographed and stuff like that. It wasn't hard hitting. They didn't really use the chamber. Obviously, they were building towards that and stuff. But then once Tiffany Stratton went in and Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair and Raquel, then they turned it up a notch, and the chamber was being used all over the place, and the girls went at it, and it finished very, very strong as a women's chamber match and stuff like that. Arguably one of the matches of the night. And it was incredible. But I have to say, looking at the scenes there at the stadium and the sun setting and the whole setup and all was absolutely incredible. No less than what we would expect from WWE. And even with the vignette packages and the videos and all, how they get us emotionally involved and stuff like that. Becky coming out the winner. How did you feel about Becky as the winner as well? Most people had her pinned as the winner, and most people were thinking Becky was going to get it. But I have to say, Tiffany Stratton with a great showing. Liv Morgan, I thought was sensational in the chamber. I thought she was unbelievable. The way she comes in like a little buzzsaw, and she's energetic and she's violent and she's aggressive and all that kind of stuff. And when you look at her, she's like a little sweetheart. But when she gets in there, boy, oh boy, does Liv Morgan go. I thought Tiffany's spot off the top of the pod was really good. I thought Raquel did a great job of recovering it. It was a little bit short and stuff like that. I often find with the finishes to the chamber matches as well, they're a little bit quick, aren't they? They happen really, really quick. And there's the build-up kind of hits it really quick. And it's like they're trying to surprise you out of nowhere. And I think this one worked, I think, pretty good and stuff like that. Becky picking up the win. Bianca obviously disappointed. Liv obviously disappointed. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with them now. But I thought it was a real good women's one. I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Dennis is in. Big up, Dennis. Good to see you, man. I could see the Intercontinental title being defended in a ladder match because from what we have seen from Raw, everyone wants their shot at the ring general. They certainly do. They certainly do. Acer's very happy. Great card. Yeah, I thought it was a great card as well. I really enjoyed it. Do you know how nice was it, lads, to have a 10 a.m. start and be able to enjoy it from the mid-morning right through to the afternoon? And I was on a number of shows. I was on a number of YouTube channels there, and the Yanks were going absolutely ballistic. They were nodding off. They couldn't handle this at all. And I just kept on commenting, welcome to my world, lads. We've been suffering this for 30, 40 years at this stage. Don't get me started. JSW, stop motion in games. Chamber felt very predictable, but still quite good. Yeah, I think there wasn't really too many surprises in terms of the results and stuff like that. But I think most of the competitors who went in came out looking way much stronger than going in and stuff like that. We're also going to have to talk about Nia Jax, folks. I thought she was sensational. Arguably the best wrestling match I have seen her in as well. Sean, brought me great comfort to think of Americans tossing and turn to stay a week. I was watching Stephen Larson. If you watch Going in Raw, the two boys were banjoed. Absolutely banjoed. They could barely keep it together. From minute one in it, they were counting down the matches to get it done. It was so difficult for them. And we've been there where we're here at 3, 4 in the morning watching it and absolutely nothing off. Turns out Paul Burchill held up the transport of the chamber. Yeah, the Pirates. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, had he got Katie with him as well. I thought the women's chamber was the best one they've done, especially Tiffany. Yeah, absolutely. Very, very strong. Kenny's in. Big up, Kenny. How are you, my friend? Keep us updated on the book, Kenny, as well. Getting close now to release, I would imagine. Naomi has looked really rusty since coming back, and she shouldn't, seeing as she's been active since leaving. Yeah, true. True, but we often do say going and working in WWE, it's a totally different style, and people have to adjust with it, and it does take time and stuff like that. And it's a yeah, I don't know. It just felt that kind of chemistry with her and Becky just seemed a little bit clunky at the start. Now maybe it was kind of contrived that way to build to a crescendo in the chamber, but they just looked awkward. Now Naomi's a powerhouse, and Becky has slimmed down something fierce as well, so it could be something to do with that. Who's now? So there's that Ron Killens travelled Australia, Austria instead of Australia. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely mad. And Dennis is in. Becky won, Rhea won. Happy days for me. The Elimination Chamber was brilliant, especially with the Perth crowd. The Perth crowd were very, very good as well, weren't they? Pretty predictable, very predictable. Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't have got much wrong, and if you did, you were kind of clinging on more than with your heart, more than your head, basically. Tiffany will be winning Money in the Bank briefcase. Yeah, she's a big future ahead of herself, hasn't she? Logan Paul sold that pod angle with that drawn. Yeah, absolutely. It was class. I tell you, let's get on. We talk about the men's chamber then. Let's get into it. What's the crack, Daz? Good to see you in there, my friend. Happy days. Let's talk about the men's chamber match. What did we feel about the men's chamber match? I thought that part with LA Knight and Drew, and he was smashing his head off the pod, and Kevin Owens is inside the pod, bashing it from the other side. I thought was absolutely gold. And even when Logan Paul went over and Kevin Owens was just absolutely smashing the pod with his head. And I could hear people on the different YouTube channels going, this guy, he's going to give himself head injuries and all this kind of stuff. And they don't realize the pod walls are so flexible. You know what I mean? It's like you're nearly pushing it with your head. But Kevin Owens is on a tear. But I tell you one thing, you can't stop Logan Paul. He's unreal, isn't he? He's absolutely unreal. Um, I think Grayson Waller is cool, but I hate the Grayson Waller effect. I thought it was brilliant, I have to say. I just thought it was so funny and all. The two boys came out under a mid motion, and Waller just turned around and go, can everyone acknowledge our tribal chief? I know back home he would appreciate it, and all this kind of thing was brilliant. And I thought Austin Theory was nothing short of magical trying to do that rock stuff and all. And even when he was getting pulverized and going down, he was still trying to get it out and stuff like that and all. Absolutely brilliant. And he takes the beating. There wasn't even a chair there for him. He takes the beating. And Grayson Waller's just standing back in behind the plants and all. It was so good. I really enjoyed it, I have to say. And it did break it up a lot for me, to be honest. Really enjoyed it. Kenny, if anyone's knocking around Wexford WrestleMania weekend, I'll be doing a signing of the first book. Nice, like that. Any Sting news, Noel? Just went through it there earlier, Daz. I'll bring it up again for you. It is there. Where am I? Last match on our last Dynamite tomorrow night, Daz, and then moving straight on into Sunday, I would imagine them for AEW Revolution. I don't know. Will we get an appearance on Collision? Maybe. Who knows? But we'll see. But this is Sting's final week as his career winds down, and what a career it has been. Some unbelievable highs, but also some real lows in there as well. And somewhere in between, stuff that he should have got done that never got done. That's how I would describe it. But certainly an icon. No doubt about it. I wish they still had the steel grey floor in the chamber. Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? I was looking at it there the other day and I was going, I think they changed it, didn't they? Didn't they change it for the women? Wasn't there a women's chamber where they got bet up pretty bad and stuff like that and all, so they changed it out. And that's a question for you guys as well. The weird one is, like, if you think of some of the most punishing matches throughout the year and stuff, that the chamber has to be up there as one of the most punishing matches on these guys and gals. And I was thinking, why don't they do WrestleMania in February and maybe do the chamber in March, or do WrestleMania at the start of March and maybe do the chamber then in April or something like that? Because it's a real risk as well. If you think about it, you're putting them through all this, and now they had a bunch of travel as well, going from where they were to Australia and back and doing all the appearances and everything else that goes with it. And then on top of that, you're going into wrestle in the chamber. and then on top of that, all that travel back there to be back for Raw or whatever the shows are that you're doing. And I was thinking, you're leaving yourself really open to getting a lot of your key stars going into WrestleMania, going in injured. We seen Orton was having trouble with his back. We seen Logan Paul with his chest. We seen Balor with his thumb. So it's a kind of a weird conundrum. What do you guys think? Do you think we should have Mania and then Chamber after? But then how do you settle the matches and stuff like that? What's the fallout then from the Rumble? But I just think putting the Chamber on before Mania, I think you can be asking for trouble. 2-0 to City at Acers. Tony has an announcement tomorrow. Oh, good Lord. Tony Khan. Good Lord. He bought a cocaine factory. There you go. The dad told him to spend his money on that Acers, didn't he? Instead of wrestling, yeah. Alan with 2. There you go. No surprise. Eno's in. Interesting in-ring promo by Darby Allin. Yeah, it should be interesting. The old Chamber was so scary, but I understand why they switched it. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Right, so the men's Chamber match, while predictable, was quite interesting as well. And it got off to a very quick start, very different to the women's. It got pretty violent straight away, outside, use of the chain, all that kind of stuff and all. Really, really physical match. Yeah, but Drew coming out on top. AJ Styles causing LA Knight out of nowhere, AJ Styles. But then Logan Paul getting RKO'd. What an RKO that was. The camera work was sensational. Absolutely perfect on it was. We talk at times about AEW and how they miss some of those key moments in the match. But you look at WWE, that camera work is sensational. Logan Paul's face right there, and out of nowhere, Randy Orton with the RKO. Then Randy, of course, getting screwed over with the Knucks and all the rest of it and stuff like that, and Drew coming out then the winner, and deservedly so. And we need to have a quick chat about Drew McIntyre. If anyone hasn't seen Raw yet, I'm sure you have, or if you didn't, you've probably seen the videos and stuff like that. But Drew McIntyre right now is really, really, really on his game, both in the ring, in his look, and in his promos. He is unbelievable. He was sensational last night on Raw. Even telling the cameraman not to get the picture up the kilt and all that kind of stuff, you perv. Really, really cool. But really enjoying Drew McIntyre at the moment. He's really stepped out of himself there now. And also, we got word today in news that apparently he is re-signed, and thank God. We don't want him going anywhere else. He's unbelievable, Drew McIntyre. And hopefully he gets to raise that belt at WrestleMania with 90,000 fans in the Eagles Stadium. Is going to be absolutely sensational. Do you think Hangman will be in the main event? I don't know. The last thing I heard about Hangman was that he was injured, wasn't he? I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at it that deep. Great that Becky tribute to Scott Hall gear. Too sweet. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Look class. And a lot of the girls do that as well. So Sasha was renowned for it with Eddie Guerrero and stuff and all. I felt anxious for Randy's back. Hope he'll be better for Mania. Yeah, I'm sure he should be fine, Dennis. But we'll hear more throughout the week. Drew has enough neck for 2 heads. He does, doesn't he? He really, really does. And I tell you, I'm really liking this side of Drew. Kenny, possibly an unpopular opinion, but Logan Paul has been brilliant. My skills are great and gets better in the ring each time. Puts so much work in and it shows. He does. And I mentioned Kenny last week on the show as well. He's building himself up a little bit. I don't know if you've seen him at the press event in Perth. He looked fairly jacked in the vest. He looks fairly jacked. He's building himself up and he's getting big. He's taking this wrestling really, really serious, and good to see it as well. Now, let's talk about how did we feel about the tag match. I thought the tag match was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm not sold on New Catch Republic, I have to say. It kind of doesn't sit with me. I think British Strong Style is cool. And I think maybe they should look at that. I think this New Catch Republic, I don't even think, I can't find anything in it that's going to make it grow on me, except I'm a big fan of the two boys. But let me know what you thought of that New Catch Republic. Of course, the Judgment Day come out and look absolutely sensational. And we'll talk about it when we go through the awards and stuff like that as well. But Judgment Day, unbelievable at the moment. And what a finish to the match as well. Unbelievable finish to the match. And lovely technical match in the beginning as well. Lots of stuff going on. Plenty of ring work, plenty of mat work, plenty of outside work. It had everything in the match and stuff like that. Nasty little injury to Balor's thumb. I think I read today, though, it wasn't broke or dislocated. It was cut. He got a cut on it and something like that, so he should be okay. But just to see the anger in him. I thought he was trying to put the thumb back in that had popped out or something like that, but it was unbelievable. But what a match it was. Let us know your thoughts on the tag match. We spoke about the Grayson Waller effect. I thought it was fun. It was a nice breakup segment for it as well. Let's talk about the women's match, Rhea versus Nia Jax. I think this was an amazing. This was a breakout showing for Nia Jax, no doubt about it. I think. Bonkers is in. Big up Bonkers. Hope you enjoyed the Caraboa. The ref helped Bobby out the ring, but no, Logan was just laying there. I knew he was costing Randy. Yeah. What do you make of Bobby Lashley, folks? I don't know what it is about Bobby Lashley. I met Bobby Lashley for the first time at WrestleMania 22. And like, we're 18 WrestleManias. We're staring into 18 WrestleManias from then. Has anything really changed? This guy should be a huge star. He looks the business, but he has the charisma of a fly. Sorry about that. He has the charisma of a fly, and it's really, 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 really hard to buy in. Daz, yo, Bonkers. The tag match was fun. It was fun, wasn't it? To see the boys doing that old school British style mat stuff. And Pete Dunne is unbelievable at moving joints and fingers and stuff like that. And all when I used to watch him doing it in the Tivoli for OTT and all, when he used to do those snap yokes with the fingers and all, at times I used to have to look away because he makes it look so real. It's unbelievable and stuff like that. And it does a nice balance between the two of them as a tag team as well. But I'm just not sold on the name. The name doesn't hit me at all yet. It might, but it doesn't yet. It's just it feels clunky as well. Tag match was really good. However, I thought it took a long time to get going, but it was great when it did. I can't think of a name less catchy than New Catch Republic. Yeah, absolutely. Kenny, New Catch Republic is dead in the water, but getting Pete Dunne back makes it worth it. Dude doesn't do bad matches. Yeah, him or Tyler. Tyler was class as well. Something happened after Raw. Cody with an envelope. It was the reveal, Daz. It was the reveal. There was a couple there who were going to do the gender reveal for their baby. As far as I know, that's what I read anyway. They did a gender reveal. Cody's all over the fans at the moment, isn't he? He couldn't be doing more for them. Yeah, I thought it was dislocated. So did I, Bonkers. But apparently the report in is that he got a cut on it, that it wasn't dislocated or broken. Now, if I read the report wrong, correct me. But I don't think. But when I seen him pulling on the thumb that way and stuff, that I thought he was trying to put it back into place and stuff like that. And I assumed he had dislocated it or popped it or something like that. No, but our old Finn Balor, he's a bit unlucky with injuries at times, isn't he? Wasn't near the standard for a stadium show main event, but great for Rhea to get the chance. Yeah, I think it showed how much it meant to her when you're seeing her backstage and with the family getting interviewed and stuff like that, and even after the match. It was a huge moment for her and stuff like that. Dare I say, probably on a level with a WrestleMania moment for her and stuff like that. She was in her own country and stuff like that. All her family were there, and you could see the emotion on her and stuff like that. And I think she even turned to Byron Saxton, wasn't it? I think it was Byron who was interviewing her, maybe. And she said, "Look, can you go away? No one wants to see mommy cry and all this kind of thing." But you could see it was a huge moment for her. I have to say, I really enjoyed the match. I thought Nia Jax was absolutely outstanding. And going into it, you see my preview for it. My big concern was, would Rhea get injured in this match? I noticed Nia has dropped a bit of weight as well. She looked much slimmer at the Perth show and stuff like that. No, but I thought she did a great job. Absolute powerhouse in there with another powerhouse as well. And Rhea was absolutely sensational, as she always is. So that brings me, let me ask you folks in the chat now. We have our 4 kind of title matches, and I know there'll be other ones at WrestleMania. How many titles are changing hands at WrestleMania? What do you think? Are all 4 going to change hands? Which ones? Who do you think will change hands? Is Rhea dropping the belt? Is she dropping the belt to Becky? Let me know your thoughts. Daz, wasn't it a cricket ground? It was at. I think so. Yeah, I think it was, as far as I know. But it looks sensational. It's a shame the crowd don't care for Pete Dunne's joint manipulation. Yeah, it's a. Sean, I would dare say from an OTT point of view, it's an acquired taste. That kind of wrestling is an acquired taste, absolutely, and it's for the more educated. Ian's in. All Elite Wrestling now becomes All Friends Wrestling thanks to the Young Bucks. Young Bucks are only EVPs. Nothing without Tony Khan. Sure, the Elite started AEW. Our wrestling company needs money. Of course it does, absolutely. And those boys know more than anyone. For the Elite. There you go. Dennis, Becky, Bailey, and Cody. You reckon they're all they're gonna come out winners. They're getting titles. So you reckon they're the three. So who's not getting it then? Who did I miss? You don't think Drew's gonna get the belt? Interesting, Dennis. Interesting. Right, let's move on from the chamber. It's in the bag now, as they say. Bailey, Drew, Cody to take titles. The rest will stay. I was talking to our the lads in the WhatsApp chat, WhatsApp thread today, and they were saying that they think the other three will change, but Cody won't. That they might save Cody for MSG in September. So that would be interesting. And Darren was one of those, and Darren's a huge Cody fan. He reckons Cody ain't getting the belt at Mania. So that'll be interesting. Becky wins, Cody ends the story, I think. Interesting. So no one's pinning Drew, no. Very few people thinking Drew. I think Drew's all over the belt. Seth, Gunther. Yeah. Man, tag maybe Logan. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Be interesting to see what they're going to do with Gunther, isn't it? Very, very interesting. Big fan of Gunther, I have to say. Right, where are we? Want to ask you this, folks. Here's one that I wanted to ask, and I seen it today. If you've any more predictions for the Hall of Fame, let me know your thoughts. They still haven't announced that yet, and we're 5 weeks out. I would have at least thought at this stage, I thought they would have announced one actually at the Elimination Chamber. That would have been kind of cool. I did read the other day, I think it was yesterday, I read it, that DDP might be in line for the Warrior Award. That would be interesting with all the stuff he's done with the wrestlers and the yoga and all that kind of stuff. That'd be pretty cool. But we want to ask you this. I seen this today on Twitter somewhere. If the WWE one day inducts matches into the Hall of Fame, like the UFC does with its fights, what matches should go in? So if you're in the chat there, tell me a match you feel should go in to the Hall of Fame. Which match would you pick? Doesn't have to be WrestleMania. I just put a few up there as a selection. It can be any match, any pay-per-view. It can be Raw, it can be SmackDown, Velocity, Heat, whatever you want it to be. Afterburn even, whatever you want it to be. Tell me one match. If you were asked to give one, where would your vote go? What match would you put into the Hall of Fame if they were inducting a match into the Hall of Fame? And again, any other predictions for the Hall of Fame, let me know. Bonkers reckons all losing. Okay, second. Okay. Interesting, Bonkers. Interesting. Undertaker versus John Gonzalez. I rewatched it the other day. It's just cinema. Stop now. Stop. Stop. We're talking about the Hall of Fame here now. I know most of the time it's not taken serious. Hey, Daz Reynolds, there you go. And Kenny's in. What about Sammy sneaking into the world title picture? He's been talking about being a champion a lot lately, and with the feud with Drew, be gas if he won it ahead of him. Look, let's be honest here. If Drew McIntyre has re-signed with WWE, I'm sure they guaranteed him something. And it's not Sami Zayn getting the belt before Drew McIntyre does. That's for sure if he's re-signed, if that's the case. So I doubt that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, but I'm all in on Drew with this WrestleMania. I think he's earned it. I think he's deserved it. I think Seth has done an outstanding job over the last year. I think he's been the hardest worker in there. I think he's been absolutely electric character development. Certainly spent an awful lot of money on clothes, that's for sure, whether it's your taste or not, but certainly an interesting one, all right. But I don't see Sam. I could see Sammy coming in after the fact or something like that, but not into that match. I think that match is set up for Drew to have his WrestleMania moment. Dennis, the first match that I would induct would be Cena versus Shawn Michaels at 23. Shawn had a great performance that night. Not a bad shout, Dennis. Hogan versus Andre for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, that would be one that most people would go for, wouldn't they? But let me know your thoughts. There's so many of them out there, so let me know who you're thinking. Hogan Warrior, obviously. Yeah, how could we forget Hogan Warrior? Triple H versus Randy Orton and Michael Cole. Stop, John. You're messing now. If Sammy wins, Niall will riot. we won't have to. Drew McIntyre will go ballistic. RS versus RS WrestleMania 3. Yeah, Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage. Yeah, absolute classic. Michaels versus Undertaker. Absolutely bonkers. Are you going with 25 or 26? There's the question. I would go personally with 25, not just because I was at it, but I think the 25 match to me stands up more than the 26 match. But let me know which is your preference. But great show. Absolute great shout. Right, little update here as well. Keep those matches coming as well, folks. If you can think of any, whatever ones you like, keep on popping them into the comments and we'll hit them up. So here's our updates for Dark Side of the Ring. So this season is going to be Chris Adams, Sensational Sherry, Terry Gordy, Black Saturday, Chris Colt, Sandman, Earthquake, Hardy Race, Buff Bagwell, and Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Starting off, I think March the 5th, if I'm correct. Earthquake is going to be the first one up, John Tenter, of course. And I think the second episode coming out is about Buff Bagwell. I'm not sure what sort of order the others are in. But we're obviously going to get this. There 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 10 altogether. So I think we get 5, don't we? And then there's kind of a mid-break, and then it comes back, I think, then in September or October or something, isn't it? And then we get another 5. So it'll be interesting. I'm very interested in Chris Adams. Sensational Sherry's. I think a lot of us would know Sensational Sherry's story at this stage. Sandman's ones is going to be very interesting. Earthquake, Harley Race, I'm really looking forward to, and Buff and Brutus. So it's a stacked season. Looks really good. Rivals return, of course, on the 25th. We got Triple H versus The Rock, but we have coming up as well. These are the dates for them and stuff like that. John Cena versus Randy Orton. Edge and Christian versus Matt and Jeff Hardy. That's going to be a real interesting one. And Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. They had some clashes, didn't they? And on the biography side of things as well, we had just had Randy Orton, so make sure you check that one out. Paddy's Day, we're getting DDP. The 24th, we have Davey Boy Smith, one I'm really looking forward to. And then the 31st, right before Mania week, we're getting Roman Reigns on the biography. So that's going to be very, very interesting. Let's get Sean's real matches in here. Now, seriously, I would say Cena Michaels, Cactus Jack, Randy Orton, Triple H, Undertaker at 27 and 28. Punk, Cena, Money in the Bank, Hogan versus Andre, Becky Bianca from Mania, Austin, Rock, and Eddie Brock, No Way Out. Eddie Brock, No Way Out is a great show. If they weren't going absolutely crazy at Brock at the moment over these allegations and stuff, so we'll see. Bonkers, yeah, 25, absolutely heaven and hell, good Lord. Absolutely buzzing for the Sandman episode. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting, isn't it? Really, really interesting. Macho King versus Warrior career retirement match at 7. Great show, Acers. There's so many of them, isn't it? Del Boy, what's happening, my friend? What's happening, Niall? All good, my friend. Hope you are good. And Acers, Rock versus Austin, WrestleMania 15, 17, 19. You can't get enough of it. And Del Boy is saying, hit the likes. Absolutely, folks. Make sure you hit the likes and you subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. We don't need to tell you at this stage. We're here nearly every evening. Del Boy, are you doing the game on Monday? Interesting. And Ian's saying, what about up and coming Dark Side of the Ring episode of the Road Warriors from World of Sport? Can you imagine? I'd have to track them down. Good Lord. That would be absolutely crazy. Just before we get into the awards and the history and all that kind of stuff, here's one for you. This was John Cena tweets that went out, joining only fans. Excited. Randy Orton says, let's collab at John Cena out there. And John Cena comes back, excited to create some content together. DM for more. Very, very interesting. Could we be getting John Cena, Randy Orton somewhere in a match? Could John Cena be that surprise at Mania? Face Randy Orton or something like that? Or are these boys just having fun out there? But it's great the way I love the way you get that internal kind of piss take and stuff like that. And all really, really cool. Really enjoy it. Sean, Masato Tanaka and Mike Awesome from One Night Stand 2005. Miracle on Bourbon Street. Hoist of the Century. Usos versus New Day from Anywhere. Jeff Hardy Undertaker from Raw. Great shout. Jeff Hardy Undertaker. Great show. Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 17. Again, you're going to have to accept the fact that the unlikelihood is that people affected by or people who involved in these allegations going around at the moment probably wouldn't feature. And also Chris Benoit, as we know the situation there as well. But what a match. Austin versus Triple H, No Way Out 01 was great too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I might does. There you go. TLC 2, WrestleMania 17. Yeah, great shout. What else have you got? That's not John Cena. I know. You reckon? Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho 19. There, what a match. I only spoke about it there the other day to a guy. incredible match. How could I forget TLC from Mania 17? No one could. But again, I only did give you one, so it's hard to decipher down through it and stuff like that. Right, let's talk about these. I know we have to. Indeed, yeah, I mentioned them earlier. Bonkers. Very, very sad, isn't it? Sad to hear of him gone. Absolutely sad to hear of him gone. And we're in here. Dennis is in. Orton and Rollins, WrestleMania 31. Another good shout, Dennis. Right, let's get in for our sins. Are we going to talk about these Meltzer Awards? The Wrestling Observer News Awards that came out there the other day. And just to parallel that as well, I also have the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Awards as well. So we can go down through the two. I didn't give in the full ones for the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I just gave the winners. But let me know your thoughts. I call them out as we go along, and you can let me know your thoughts in the chat. Agree, disagree, how do you feel about it and stuff like that, right? So Wrestler of the Year. Wrestler of the Year was Will Ospreay. In second was Cody Rhodes. And in third was MJF. So let me know your thoughts on that. Acers is in. Triple threat match, WrestleMania 20. Absolutely. What a match. Again, you're picking all the good ones, Acers, but you're the ones you know that can't go in. Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 20. Yeah, unreal. And Daz, 3-0 to City, no surprise. Meltzer wipes his arse with his hands. Absolutely. So what do you think? Is Will Ospreay a shout for Wrestler of the Year? Let me know your thoughts. Most outstanding wrestler. Again, Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, and Kenny Omega. Most outstanding wrestler. There you go. There's a feel going through this now, and it'll be interesting when we show you then the Pro Wrestling Illustrated ones. Tag Team of the Year. FTR, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. Were the 3 tag teams of the year. Promotion of the year, World Wrestling Entertainment got 1. All Elite was number 2, and New Japan was number 3. But sure, goes without saying. Best weekly TV show. Give me your thoughts on this as well. This will be interesting. Best weekly TV show: AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, and WWE SmackDown. Meltzer's gas, isn't he? He's just gas. And he tries to tell us this was all voted on and everything and all. Fun stuff. Pro Wrestling Match of the Year. Let me know your thoughts on this. Number 1, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, Tokyo. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, Toronto. And MJF versus Bryan Danielson, San Francisco. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Let's catch up in the chat here. Who would be your Wrestler of the Year and all? Let's see now. Where am I? I'm have to get a good few comments in here. Dennis, my Wrestler of the Year. I think if you're looking at work rate and you're looking at matches and everything else and all, it's hard to look by Seth Rollins. Really hard to look by Seth Rollins. I think Cody has done a fabulous job as well. But I think in terms of, you know, if you look at the week in, week out, if you look at the workload, if you look at the volume of work and the effort that man's put in, and remember, he's carrying a new title as well that he's trying to create a legacy about and stuff like that as well. So it's hard to look by Seth Rollins, I think. But again, let me know your thoughts on it. Where are we now? Sean, Eugene versus Triple H, SummerSlam 2004. Good Lord. Triple Threat at 22. Triple Threat at 22. Yeah. Orton, Angle, and Rey Mysterio. Really good, Daz, bar the outcome. The outcome did not necessarily sit well with people. He's definitely a shout. Yeah, absolutely. Who would be your Wrestler of the Year? We went through that one. Ole Anderson needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Not sure whether that's going to happen or not. Ospreay is a good wrestler. He is a very good wrestler. Kenny, haven't watched much AEW, but did Kenny Omega do much last year? He missed. He missed about what? Did he miss 2-3 months for it or something like that? I think he missed 2-3 months for it or something. At the end, Dave Meltzer's #1 member of Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Yeah, he wishes. SmackDown at 3. You are shitting me. Absolutely. You got AEW Dynamite and Collision above it. There you go. Both the Ospreay and Omega matches were exceptional. They were, no doubt. Will Ospreay, Gunther, Danielson. There you go. Not a bad show. I like it, Bonkers. I like it. Pro wrestling. I'll give you pro wrestling match of the year. Feud of the year. Now, this is interesting because you get the feud of the year. Then a lot of these kind of categories, they kind of they hip the hypocrisy through the other ones down, and the flow is kind of weird and stuff like that. So I'll give you some of these. Feud of the year: Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. Absolutely excellent. Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland, and Kento Mihara versus Kashuki Nakajima. I hope I got that right in the way I said it. Best box office pro wrestling, or pro wrestler, I probably should have said, I'd imagine. Roman Reigns at number 1, Cody Rhodes at number 2, and John Cena at number 3. Not too sure what he means by that category, to be honest. It's kind of a weird one. Roll me one Kenobi. How are you, my friend? Hey again. I never knew you did WWE shows. That's cool. We absolutely do it. I say to people all the time, this is my favorite show of the week. We've got a great community over there doing their thing and stuff like that. They always take part. Really, really good. And we always have good fun on these shows. Love pro wrestling. Tamatonga Haku son has signed with WWE. He has indeed. Absolutely. I sat behind little story for you, Roll me one Kenobi. I bought tickets for WrestleMania 24 in the Citrus Bowl in Florida. Bought them on Ticketmaster. 4 of us went to the show. And who was I sitting beside at the show? Haku. And he was an absolute gentleman. So don't believe everything that you read. Roll me one Kenobi. It's all wrestling. There you go. It's all wrestling. I hope Cody finishes his story. I like him. I think Seth will beat Seth. Then CM Punk wins the title when he's back. You think Seth will beat Drew, I presume you mean there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at Roll Me One Can be brilliant that Cody's losing at Mania. So there you Cody. They're all going in tonight. I was watching WCW COTC. Dustin Rhodes had Cody's Team Kingdom. WWE Network dubbed. Absolutely. Bonkers Hangman versus Swerve. Yeah, good shoot. Yeah, and Roll Me Drew. Yeah, absolutely Drew. Yeah, we knew that one. Right, so what's the last one then? We did best box office. A few to go here from Meltzer. He loves putting it out there. Most charismatic. Who's most charismatic? MJF was at number 1. Roman Reigns at number 2. And Kento Miyahara was at number 3. Interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Most overrated. Here's the good one now. Let me know your thoughts on this. Most overrated category. Here's the top 3. In 1, Sonata. In 2, the tribal chief Roman Reigns, most overrated. And in number 3, CM Punk. They're your 3 for most overrated. I don't know if CM Punk was overrated, and this is 2013 awards, remember, for last year. I don't know. Weird to me. I don't think he was overrated. At Sean, WC, don't hinder Cody, just like don't hinder the gender. There you go. What's the set for Mania like? It's going to be outstanding. You're going to get that big Philly bell and all. It's going to look class. MJF is amazing. It's inevitable he's WWE bound. Hopefully. Clash of the Champions. Yeah, I knew what it was. I knew what it was. Roman is so overrated. You think? You think really? Roman. Overrated. Most underrated. So most underrated at number 1 was Chad Gable. Do we think Chad Gable's underrated? I don't think he's underrated. I think he gets a lot of flowers and a lot of props. Takeshita is number 2. I think very much underrated, but people are coming around to him now big time. And finally in 3, Daniel Garcia. Best non-wrestler. Who are we putting in for best non-wrestler? Let me know your thoughts on this. Best non-wrestler. At number 1, Don Callis. Number 2, the wise man, Paul Heyman. Number 3 is Prince Nana. Let me know your thoughts on that. Does Callis outdo Paul Heyman? Let me know your thoughts. It's probably an argument for it, but let me know your thoughts on it. Now, here's where it gets a little bit sticky. This is where it's not nice at all. This is where Meltzer flipped the switch here. You know, very, very interesting, showing his actual colors. There you go, Dennis. That Roll Me One Kenobi here. There you go. And Sean's in. I will repeatedly hinder the gender. There you go. I'm not sure if Roman is overrated, but his match style is so past its prime. There you go. Romy One Kenobi's going with Don Callis for best non-wrestler. I'm not au fait to that. I won't disagree with you probably on that one. Nana, there you go. And then Sean. Shad is phenomenal. He never got the chance to shine. He could still get the chance to shine. That hasn't passed by him yet. Um, best Booker. Best Booker, there was uproar over this. You seen it on Twitter, I'm sure you did, and everything and all. But best Booker for the year, Paul Triple H Levesque, followed by Tony Khan, followed by Juan Manuel Mar. They were your three best Bookers for 2023. I think the fact that they put Tony in last year for 22, I think was ridiculous as well, especially when Triple H is doing the job that he does. Promoter of the year. Interesting one. Let me know your thoughts on this one. This is really, really interesting because this is where they bring in the fight game as well. So Nick Khan is at number 1, Tony Khan is at number 2, and Dana White is at number 3. So answer me this: Nick Khan at the top, WWE promoter of the year. 2 is Tony Khan. Is Dana White a better promoter than Tony Khan? I would have Dana White at number 2, and I would have Tony Khan at number 3. Just my thoughts on it, but let me know your thoughts on it. Best pro wrestling documentaries. At number 1 was Dark Side of the Ring, the Chris Candido and Tammy episode, which was outstanding and heartbreaking all at once. VOW, the life, career, and death of Eddie Gilbert, was at number 2. And this one was absolutely phenomenal. Number 3 was The American Nightmare, Becoming Cody Rhodes. Let me know what order would you put them in. Does Cody Rhodes go to the top? Would it outdo Chris and Tammy on Dark Side of the Ring? Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Where are we? Go with this one first. WWE needs to take Chad away from Academy. It's wasting him, making him a heel. Bonkers is in. MJF, his match is not that great, but he can certainly use a microphone. Absolutely. Triple H, there we go. Scott D'Amore, promoter for me. Yeah, not a bad shout, absolutely. And he was going to shaft it in TNA, wasn't he? And I seen there was a lot of backlash over it as well. But I followed Scott D'Amore right from the early days of Team Canada and everything else. Certainly he has been, what loyalty he has shown to TNA over the years. It's a shame that the company that now owns them didn't show the same loyalty to Scott D'Amore that he has shown. TNA would have went under years ago if it wasn't only for Scott D'Amore. Dana deserves 3 for still doing Apex cards. There you go. I don't know. I think Dana's up there. I'd have Dana right behind Nick Khan, and I'd have Tony Khan and 3, just me. Scott D'Amore, TNA, yeah, great show, Bonkers. Dana also deserves 3 for hyping up the main event of UFC 300 and then booking Alex Pereira. Yeah, absolutely working the crowd, isn't he? Right. Let's take a look at the pro wrestling ones then, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, because there's quite a contrast in this one. So for Pro Wrestling Illustrated, folks, and I just took the winners for this one basically. I didn't go through all the categories. So your wrestler of the year is Seth Rollins. Very hard to argue with that. Would anyone argue with that, or is everyone more or less in agreement? Seth Rollins for Wrestler of the Year. Woman of the Year, Rhea Ripley. Again, very hard to argue with that. I think those two kind of set the scene, don't they? Faction of the Year. What would you go with? Faction of the Year. The Judgment Day is the one that came out on as winning it. You could argue maybe the Bloodline. But let me know your thoughts on it. Tag Team of the Year, FTR. I think is a great shout as well. But let me know if you have any different thoughts on that. It is a shame, actually. It's a shame about Scott D'Amore, absolutely. Something tells me he won't be able to work too long as well. Romy One Kenobi, agree with that. Set is awesome. He is awesome. The Elite. Daz is going with the Elite. Interesting. Kenny, if heel of the year isn't done, then it's all over. Let me see. I'll go down through it. They don't kind of do it that way, but you're not far off, but I'll come to it. Match of the year. They said match of the year they voted was Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. There's an interesting one. That's one sure to create a conversation. Absolutely. Bonkers. Will Ospreay, Naomi, TNA, or Athena? Yeah. Yeah. Inspirational wrestler of the year. Inspirational wrestler of the year went to Mark Briscoe. Comeback of the year went to Trinity. Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Most improved wrestler of the year was LA Knight. Rookie wrestler of the year was Saul Ruka. Indie wrestler of the year. No prizes for who gets this. Of course, it was Matt Cardona. Unbelievable out there on the indie scene. Feud of the year. Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline. Absolutely. I thought it was excellent. And this one's for you, Kenny. Most hated wrestler of the year. Dominic Mysterio. There you go. So it's more or less the same thing. And most popular wrestler of the year. You're not getting any prizes for that either, folks. Of course, it's Cody Rhodes. So that's your awards for Pro Wrestling Illustrated and from the Meltzer Awards as well. So there you go. Right. Well, I'll just get some comments in here. The Elite, absolutely. Dennis, Drew, Gunther, and Sheamus, match of the year for me. Oh, yeah, unbelievable. I agree, Dennis. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Cheers, man. There you go. Look at you guys all agreeing with each other, patting each other on the back. It's all good. All good. Right. Let's take in some history from this week and we'll do some notable birthdays. So we'll start with 2010. WWE announces the mass release of a horde of talent, including Maria Kanellis, Gregory Helms, Charlie Haas, and Paul Burchill. We've already done an episode on it. If you want to check it out, and it'll be covered Dark Side of the Ring as well. 1997, for the first time, WWF Monday Night Raw was taped in Europe. At the event in Berlin, Germany, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith was crowned the first ever WWF European Champion after a tournament final win over his fellow World Tag Team Champion and brother-in-law Owen Hart. There you go. That was this week. 2000, WWE No Way Out took place at the Hartford Civic Center in Hartford, Connecticut. The main event saw the retirement of the legendary Cactus Jack McFoley after a loss to Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. And of course, the retirement was mainly a full-time thing. He did come back after that to take part in matches, but it was his official retirement from WWE in terms of the full-time schedule. 2001, Stacey Carter, aka the Cat, was released from WWE for undetermined reasons. As a direct result, her husband Jerry the King Lawler, that kind of never sat with me well either, quit his role in the company, ending his 8-year run. He would return to WWE in November the same year after separating from Carter. That was very, very strange. 2000, in one of the more infamous skits in Monday Night Raw history, Mae Young gave birth to Hand, purported to be the offspring of her then partner Mark Henry. How could we forget it? Crazy times, especially now when you look back on it. Just for you, Sean, 1998, ECW Living Dangerously took place from the Asbury Park Convention Center in New Jersey. The highlight of the card saw hometown boy Bam Bam Bigelow defeat Taz to win the ECW Television Championship. 2016, Japanese wrestling superstar Hayabusa died at the age of 47 from a hemorrhage in Tokyo, Japan. Very, very sad. Hayabusa, what a wrestler. 2008, WWE officially retired the Cruiserweight Championship with Hornswoggle as the last recognized champion. Crazy. The title was inactive until September 2016. Yeah, it was always a championship that I love. We'll get into notable birthdays now in a minute. Let's go through some of this stuff here. Keith, you asked me to remind you about having a discussion about wrestling podcasts. A lot of ex-wrestlers, managers are doing now. Absolutely. I'll come back to that right at the end, right? Nick Gage versus Dominic Mysterio. My God, imagine. Romy One Kenobi, is it true Mick Foley wants one more match? I did hear it. Absolutely, yeah. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And you know it's just not going to be a straight up match either. Jerry Lawler was a simp for doing that. He was, yeah, it was crazy at times. Just felt weird. It felt very uncomfortable as well, didn't it? At Romy One Kenobi, he wants to lose £100 and have a death match when he hits 60. Yeah, mad, isn't it? Mad. All for losing the £100. Not so much for going in at 60 to do a death match. But let me know your thoughts on it. Right, notable birthdays, of course. A man who I was doing karaoke with a few weeks ago in Florida, the sinister minister James Mitchell, 1965. Vern Gagne, 1926. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, 1953. Of course, he was mentioned in our Hall of Fame matches, WrestleMania 3 with the Macho Man. Booker T, 1965. A man who I was delighted to see on our screens at the press conference in Vegas, Big E, 1986. And we finishing out with a man that we lost way too early, a man who I greatly admired, the former tag team partner of Trevor Murdoch, Lance Cade, 1981, taken from us way too young. Absolute super talent. That rounds out your notable birthdays for this week and your history. Keith. At Romy One can oh yeah, we already sent that one. Yeah, so here's one here's one, and you guys can chime in the chat as well, asking me about wrestling podcasts that are out there at the moment. There's a lot of them at the moment, and the ones that I tend to listen to on a regular basis. There's so many of them out there. I listened to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, with Conrad. I think is really really good. Of course, I listened to Jim Cornette. Just to give me back that old school 80 vibe as well. But I like the relationship between him and Brian Last. But I'd like them to do video versions of it, not just audio. I think would be really cool because Cornette is so animated, and I'd imagine him being so animated doing this, and you could tell even through the audio. The facials and all he would be pulling when Brian kind of pushes his buttons on certain things and stuff would be really cool. I also watch a little bit of Renee's Cafe de Rene, which is interesting at times. Some good stuff comes on that. I tend to always watch Stephen Larson. Going in Raw, I think, is a really, really good podcast. They do some really good stuff there. Some Larson is great with some of the breakdowns, and Steve is excellent as well. What other ones do I look at? I think that's mainly all them, is it? It's mainly the ones I think. What's it? I watch most of the ones that Conrad does. So he does Eric Bischoff, doesn't he? What's the other one he does that I always watch? I watch a little bit of Vince Russo's as well. I like Vince Russo's as well. I certainly like his direct approach. He could peg back a little bit on the brows and all that kind of stuff, but certainly interesting to get his slant on things and stuff like that. But sometimes he kind of contradicts himself a little bit. Sometimes he says, I don't even watch the product now, but then gives a breakdown of Raw. So you must be watching it. So it's kind of weird. So he kind of doesn't watch it, but he knows what's going on. Dutch Mantels is really interesting. Great shout, Romy One Kenobi. Dutch Mantels will be very interesting. Of course, my go-to one is Morris's own one, Cheapy Productions podcast. I love the Mario Mancini show, and he's getting some great guests on at the moment. Really, really good. But Dutch Mantel is a great shout as well. Really, really interesting podcast that he does. It's good to get that old school feel from it as well, Romy One Kenobi. Lance Cade was a great talent. Enjoyed when he was with Jericho. Yeah, absolutely. Morris is a good one. Morris is a great one, actually. That's what I said. Cheapy Productions podcast. Make sure you're supporting it, guys. Morris doing an unbelievable job there. He's probably actually on right now. He normally does Mondays and Tuesdays. So, and as we said, Dutch Mantel, great shout. Romy One Kenobi, real old school one. Really good to watch. I love listening to Jim Cornette and talking about the territories years and learning about the road life. Absolutely amazing. Listen, yeah. Like I said, I just wish he'd do videos as well because he does be so animated. Hannibal's ones out there. That's not one that I watch an awful lot. I used to watch a little bit, but I haven't been watching it a lot. Just trying to fit it all in. Busted Open, yeah. Busted Open is really good. It's great fun. Big shout out to Morris too. Yeah, Busted Open is good. Greca is absolutely mad on it. And I love when him and Bubba Ray go at it and stuff like that and all. It's interesting. Mark Henry does be on it as well, and Mickey James. So it's really good podcast out there on Cyrus. I think it's tough. I think when you're thinking about wrestling ones and stuff like that, I think it's hard to just I know Cornette does a great job on it and stuff like that, but it's hard to get it just on the audio. You do really want to watch it as well, because part of it is kind of the emotion and the facials and everything when these guys are saying these things and all and stuff like that. Shane Douglas has a great channel. Same with Francine. Yeah, seeing some of Francine's is pretty good. Yeah, Shane Douglas. I haven't watched much of Shane Douglas now, but I must check it out actually. Busted Open is good. Yeah, really good. Taker has his own podcast. Yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to that one. He charges for a lot of the good stuff, doesn't he? Don't think so. Maven has a great channel as well, and also Stevie Richards. Yeah, I do like Stevie's. I used to love when Stevie was doing the breakdown of the matches and stuff like that. Was pretty cool. Maven's one is interesting as well. Yeah, Maven is such a he's such a fan for himself, isn't he? Conan's is interesting as well. Yeah, keeping it 100 is worth a shout out to. Yeah, really interesting podcast. And Dennis is in. Logan Paul has some good interviews as well. The Orton and Cena ones were very interesting, and of course Pat McAfee's one is really good. It's full of energy and it's electric and stuff like that. So when he has the wrestlers on, it's pretty cool. And of course, there is the Upper Tier podcast. How could we forget about our own podcast that you guys in the community create as well? It's always excellent. Kevin Nash is a good shout as well. Is okay, not the best, but decent. With Sean Oliver, who I was a big fan of back in the kind of shoot days and stuff like that. Mickey James, Booker T, and RVD channel. Yeah, I think that's on. Some of that is Busted Open as well, isn't it? Booker's actually is interesting as well. Yeah. There's so many of them out there. I think Maven should be a producer in WWE or a commentator. Yeah, absolutely. Jake's one is good. Yeah, Jake's is very interesting as well. So many of them out there. It's absolutely endless. But of course, a lot of them, as you can imagine, over the last few weeks have been, drenched in the allegation stuff and things like that. So sometimes it's nice when that kind of stuff dies down a bit and it's gone through the process, where you just get back to talking about actual pro wrestling, what's going on in the pro wrestling world, rather than focusing on the allegations all the time. Sometimes it's a bit like Dark Side of the Ring. If you watch the whole season of Dark Side of the Ring, by the time you get to the last episode, you're kind of worn out from it, really, and you need a break from it nearly. You really need counselling. And of course, we'll bring you reviews of all the Dark Side of the Ring episodes as they happen, as we do every year. Chris Van Vliet as well, yeah, really good. Best ball passes, grilling Jim Ross. Don't know. I'd struggle with that one. Chris Van Vliet as well. Yeah, very good. Absolutely. Great shout, Dennis. Kenny's in. Jake done a great interview on Talk as Jericho a few years back. Was brilliant, yeah. Absolutely. This Vince documentary should be fun. It never sees the light of day. It never sees the light of day. And the sound of things, the way things are going, they're going to have to bring a part 2 as well, aren't they? Definitely going to have to bring a part 2. Well, folks, that's it. Another week in the bag. Pro Wrestling Weekly. Hope you enjoyed the show. As always, you guys taking part in it is always awesome. You chat really make the show. I'm telling you, it's my favorite show of the week. Gives me a break from football. Allows me to enjoy my other passion, which is pro wrestling, and share it with you guys. So really looking forward to it. What do you think of the new season of Dark Side? For the guys they have announced. I think Rivals looks decent, but don't get Miz and Daniel Bryan rival. You will when you watch it. It was quite heated and pretty intense and cut to the bone, to be honest. It was one of actually the year that it wasn't on, stuff like that. It was quite an intense rivalry and it got quite personal as well. So definitely worth a watch. As I said already on earlier, you might have been on Keith on Dark Side of the Ring. Really looking forward to Chris Adams, Sensational Sherry, Black Saturday, Sandman sticks out a mile, Earthquake will be good, Harley Race is one I'm really going to be looking forward to, Buff should be fun, and Brutus Beefcake, they're the ones I'm going to be looking forward to. As I highlighted on the A&E rivals, Daniel Bryan and Miz for me is going to be a good one. You can't go wrong with Edge and Christian and the Hardys. John Cena, Randy Orton, and Triple H and The Rock obviously aired already. And then Randy Orton's in there. DDP should be interesting. Really looking forward to Davey Boy Smith. And Roman Reigns should be interesting as well. So they're the ones I'm really looking forward to. But plenty of stuff coming our way, isn't there? Can you please get Jamie or Morris on the wrestling show one night? No, Morris is flat out Daz on the Monday and the Tuesday and Wednesdays, as far as I know. So he can rarely come on. He's doing so many shows and stuff like that. And Jamie, I think the same Daz. I think Jamie is flat out with content at the minute. So he tends to be streaming the same time that I do be streaming as well. There's an open invitation there for anyone who wants to come on the show. As always, you know what I mean? It's not closed off and stuff like that, you know. We might even get to a stage where maybe once a month we might do like a call-in show where you guys come on and, you know, open up a conversation about anything. We have a chat about it with the chat, you know, come on for 3-4 minutes, then jump off and we bring another person on. Might do something like that, like a call-in show as well, which would be great fun for anyone who wants to take part. So we'll look into that. Acer, it's great that The Rock will be on the next 5 weeks of TV. Yeah, absolutely. I actually had it there. I didn't want to give it up because I had the results of Raw there on the slide. I didn't want to give them away in case people hadn't seen Raw. And the other half of that slide was The Rock with the SmackDown logo is going to be on TV. Certainly committed to the cause, Acers, committed to the cause. You know, great show. We are now over and out. Keith is in. They will have Sunny next year on Dark Side. She was already featured. She was in there in the Candido one. DDP will be interesting. Yeah, might be getting the Warrior Award this year at the Hall of Fame, and certainly well earned for services to those wrestlers through the yoga and stuff like that. Loved when DDP sued Jay-Z doing the Diamond Side. Yeah, absolutely madness. Well, folks, listen, enjoy the rest of your week. I will be back tomorrow at some stage with a Liverpool Southampton, either match reaction or preview, whatever I can squeeze in. Thursday, I'm back with Darren. Dark Side of the Ring, I was going to say. Thursday, Tier Talk, of course, where we'll be previewing all the football action going into the weekend. Beat the bookie, all the latest news, any controversies that are out there, we'll go through them as well. Then Friday, I'll probably be doing a preview for the Liverpool-Nottingham Forest game. And of course, then we'll be looking back. I'll probably squeeze in a little 20-minute about AEW Dynamite as we build up the Sting. I don't want to let this week go with it being Sting's last week and not highlight a lot of that stuff as well. We did a good bit of Sting stuff last week as well. So we keep that momentum going in as always. Acers has final comment. Vince McMahon and Sonny reunion in prison. They could do one of those Punjabi prison matches or something like that, could they? Can you imagine? Until next sunny days, Acers. There you go. Until next time, folks, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a safe week. Of course, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and drop a like on the video. And of course, support all those other podcasts you spoke about, especially Morris's and especially ours. And we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, folks.